The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to The Timeline, a Phoenix Suns podcast. Sam, Happy New Year. How you doing?
Hello, man. Happy New Year. I'm doing okay. I'm battling through some undisclosed illness that people may hear in my voice for this one. I'm not gonna lie. Did you make it to midnight last night? Did you have a good New Year?
I did. Yeah.
Good for you. I was in bed at 8 p.m. So life has been kicking my ass this week a little bit. I tweeted earlier, we were supposed to record this episode a couple days ago, but then my furnace went out and it was 5 degrees outside. So thankfully I got that fixed up. But it's been a tough opening week to the new year. But we're here now. And I'm ready to talk about, obviously, some stats, some resolutions, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we got lots of stuff to cover on this episode. I'm in a small way, I'm kind of grateful that we postponed it just so we can have sort of this was the Phoenix Suns in 2025 conversation. And just in general, just to talk about how we feel about where they are right now. Currently, the Suns finished the year 2025 for the 25-26 season 19-14, which is better than they were last year at this time of year, which I think is not, I don't think that's a small feat, personally. They're the 7th seed in the Western Conference, which is, of course, insane. The Western Conference so far isn't, like, the Minnesota Timberwolves are 21-13. That would put them at, the 3rd seed in the East, and they're the 6th in the West. Denver Nuggets, by the way, Jokic missing some time, Wemby potentially missing some time. Some teams above the Suns right now could potentially start dropping in the standings.
Austin Reeves for the Lakers out 4 to 6 weeks or
That's
something.
Right. Too, the Lakers too, I think, even if they're fully healthy, there's just this win rate that they have is unsustainable for the way they've been playing. We have a frauds episode. If you want to go back in the podcast here, they're the only team in the top 8 of the West that has a negative differential, the Los Angeles Lakers. So it just doesn't make sense that they're currently 20-11, really good record for how they've been playing so far. But the Suns 19-14, 10-5 at home, 9-9 on the road. How do you feel about where the Suns are so far this season?
Ecstatic. It's hard because on the one hand, it's like they're the 7th seed in the West, and we want to say just keep pushing. You can get higher. You can get fucking home court advantage, right. Like anything is possible with this team. And that's absolutely true. But, I do want to remind myself, and I do continually remind myself of where we started with the expectations of this team and how far they've already come to be 19-14, to be significantly better than last year's iteration of the team was at this point in the season. And with the number of missed games from critical pieces that they've done it with. At this point, like obviously Jalen Green, I think we're going to have a discussion maybe later on in this episode about just reintegrating Jalen Green, because that's going to be one of the main storylines of 2026 for the Suns, I think. But beyond that, it's like Grayson Allen was having a great season, and he's been gone for 15 games now, right?
Yeah.
Mark Williams mostly still doesn't play back-to-backs. He's done a couple where he plays 15, 16 minutes, but it's not like having a fully available center 100% of the time.
He's played 28 games total of the 33.
Yeah, and then throw in a little bit of Ryan Dunn.
Yeah.
Throw in a little bit. Who else am I missing? Other guys.
Here, I'll go through it right now. There's 3 players. Maybe you can guess, actually. It'd be interesting to see. There are 3 players who have played every game this season, all 33 games. Do you know who those 3 players are?
Oso
Ighodaro, 1.
Okay. Royce, 2.
Okay.
Colin Gillespie,
3.
All right.
Those are the 3 players. There are 2 players who played 30 minutes. Those players are 30 games, I should say. Those players are Devin Booker and Jordan Goodwin.
What did Dylan Brooks miss time with? Was he
he had was it like a knee in thing or something? Oh no, was it his back? I don't remember. He missed games. I do remember him missing games. He's played 27. So the next guy after Devin Booker and Jordan Goodwin is Mark Williams, then Dillon Brooks, and then we have the guys that haven't played much overall. I mean, if you think about it, that are supposed to play. Ryan Dunn's played 26 games. Grayson Allen's played 18 games. Jalen Green's played 2. So Grayson Allen
one and a quarter, really.
Yeah, really, just one, literally. Grayson Allen playing 18 of the 33 available games and starting the season legitimately the second best player on the Suns. We had that actual conversation, 10 or so games into the season where Grayson Allen was just having the best start to a season of his career. So I think the context of where the Suns are in the standings also matters. But even if they were fully healthy and they were currently 7th in the West at the end of 2025, I think if you told me that before the season had started and saying the Suns in the first 33 games would be 19-14, regardless of health, I think I would have considered that a massive victory. They're ahead of the Golden State Warriors with Jimmy Butler. They're ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies, who, haven't been healthy but are now. The Portland Trailblazers, they're significantly ahead of. And, the Trailblazers...
Who everyone wants to anoint.
Yeah, exactly.
For some reason, has been... Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a major victory to say we're ahead of the Portland Trailblazers, but I would think most of the overall NBA media would have put the Portland Trailblazers, and did, ahead of the Phoenix Suns before the season started. The Suns are now 12-4 against teams below 500 and 7-10 against teams above 500. They have done a really good job taking care of the games that they're quote-unquote now, we consider them games that they're supposed to win. And then, have struggled a little bit against teams that are better than them in the standings so far. And we'll see if that's something they can clean up as they get healthy. Because if they start winning games against teams above 500, I think they could make their way into an actual playoff spot and out of the play-in. None of that is guaranteed. I think just being at the top of the play-in spot would be nice for them to have a chance to actually make the playoffs either way. I'm happy with it too, man. It's really difficult to say you're disappointed, right?
Yeah, based on what you were saying there, I'm trying to look up some advanced standings numbers, like all of the teams. Where do you go for above 500 record? Like,
good question. ESPN expanded, yes, the expanded standings on the ESPN standings.
Because I don't have it off the top of my head, but I wanted to say, this stuff drives narratives. People always say the NBA season, famously, doesn't really kick off until Christmas in terms of the narratives, but the narratives are set in the first 30 games of the regular season, even if they don't captivate the same type of regular season audience. Case in point, the Detroit Pistons, who are 25-8 or something, and I looked the other day, and they had played 10 games total against 500 plus teams.
It's 11 right now, 8-3. Yeah.
Oh, great. Wow. Yeah. We've played twice as many games against 500 plus teams as a team like the Detroit Pistons, and that leads to some teams and their young cores getting it. Not to say that the Pistons haven't had an excellent season. Actually, I'm going to bring them up again later based on a stat I have.
The Thunder have only played 12, by the way. So just to add on to that. Yeah.
That's even more fascinating that that's the case.
They're 21-1 against teams below 500. They've played 22 games against teams below 500, the Thunder.
Yeah, some teams just get anointed and others don't. Like the Portland thing was really bothering me earlier this year, and I think it still is to an extent. I'm not surprised that Denny, we hadn't planned on talking about this, and I don't think we're going to make it a long thing today, but the first returns of All-Star ballots came out. Okay. Not surprising to me that Denny Avdia is up there, not number 1 or 2 or anything. I think he's number 6 or 7 for forwards in the Western Conference. Not surprising to me. Often happens with international players. It's more so how the media is reacting to Denny Avdia's season as, the number 1 scoring option, but the number 1 scoring option on a team on pace to win 35 games. That energy was never given for Devin Booker when he was 100%. Historically on bad Suns games, bad Suns teams. So I just, we're going to have to do the Devin Booker All-Star talk at some point, but that's not the subject of today's episode.
I did have a minor theory that Devin Booker's not allowed to start playing well, really well in a season until the first round of voting comes. Because it seems like this happens every year where the first round of voting comes and it's he didn't have that good of a start. And then he starts playing really well and he rises in the votes a little bit. But yeah, it is one of those things where I've seen people, KOC for example, saying, and even Bill, I think, that Denny deserves an all-star spot regardless of where they are in the standings. And it's like, yeah, we're doing that now.
Bill just has a stick up his ass about Matt Ishbia that he cannot let go of. And we're going to have to keep hammering this home a little bit over for however long. If Ishbia is going to own the team for the next 5 years or 50 years, one day Bill Simmons is going to have to let go. Because I understand, we on this podcast have criticized Matt Ishbia for certain things, right? You can't be buddy-buddy with the ownership groups all the time. But Bill has to get over it because it just really impacts the way that he talks about the Suns every time he opens his mouth about this team, and really is hard to listen to.
That's right.
So he's going to have to get over that at some point. But I don't know
but our good friend Joe House keeps it real about the Phoenix Suns on that podcast. So we have an inside man.
I do feel that there are friends of the Suns at the Ringer who I can trust to talk about us objectively.
Who are those people?
Well, maybe we're going to have to, I don't know if I want to
save that for a Patreon podcast.
No, I'm not.
That one goes behind the paywall.
This is the sort of shit we talk about on Patreon podcasts. No, because maybe we want to bring them on. But yeah. I haven't felt a lot of love coming from, the top of the top at the Ringer, Bill Simmons, Zach Lowe. And that's okay this season. That's okay. Maybe it can come from the other guys.
The Suns just finished a road trip. And the last game was against Cleveland, and very much looked like the last game of a 4-game road trip, the way the Suns were playing in that game. But they finished at 3-1, right? They had 4 games in a row that they won, which was Lakers, New Orleans, Washington. The New Orleans, Washington, like a loss in any of those games, which, back-to-back home on the road against New Orleans, those were not guaranteed. But a loss in any of those 3 games, I think, would have felt pretty bad. A loss against Cleveland, I still think Cleveland is good. People have been hammering them for their start. This team, they don't get a lot of excuses made when they're not healthy, but they're never healthy. And when they're healthy, they play really well. And they were pretty healthy in this game. And they lost to Cleveland.
I think Cleveland is bipolar, but if you get the good version of Cleveland, then really you get your ass kicked. Yeah. And we saw, I think we saw the good version of Cleveland. That's not to excuse the Suns and just say, they could throw their hands up, but we clearly saw a motivated Cleveland team that was willing to admit Kenny Atkinson. Did you see the part where Kenny Atkinson in an interview said that he would call the Suns the hardest working team in the NBA going into that matchup?
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah. And so, they came prepared, and what's really good about Cleveland is their ball movement is sharp, their cutting is super sharp, and at basically every single position, they have a plus playmaker for that position, with the exception of, I don't know, maybe Jared Allen or something.
The Suns and them play quite a bit alike, I think.
Yeah,
the difference being that Donovan Mitchell is just an absolute launcher from 3.
They've got, Donovan Mitchell as a launcher from 3. Darius Garland has been up or down, but positions 1 through 4, they always have excellent shooters, movers without the ball, playmakers, and then Jared Allen was just at the 5, sitting in the dunker spot all night and killing us.
And they're huge
when the play would break down.
Well, I think to that point,
they were good.
To that point, I think the Suns are gonna they really need one of Oso Ighodaro or Mark Williams to be a good matchup for the other team in order to win a game. And if both of them play kind of poorly, matchup-wise, they're not going to win any games that both of them play poorly. And I think this game, Oso Ighodaro was not good, and Mark Williams was not very good either. I think both of them were kind of getting worked a little bit by the centers that were playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers, the bigs, because they have other guys that are huge too, like Mobley, who doesn't play center but can grab those rebounds too. And yeah, it's just going to be really difficult to win in those games. I was happy to see Devin Booker have a relatively good game scoring-wise in that game after kind of a rough start.
Efficiency man returning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We need to see him get a little better. Yeah, I mean, he's had, I would say, since the Golden State games where he had 25 and 38, he's kind of back to what we expect of him on a pretty regular basis, other than his efficiency from 3 still being kind of poor, although he was good in this Cleveland game.
He was straddling 30% still on the season for 3s. Yeah, his mid-range efficiency, I think, recently is back to where you expect it to be. The 3-point thing is a total enigma to me. It remains an enigma.
Before we get to stats, though, going forward, now starting the new year, Sacramento Oklahoma City, Houston, Memphis, New York, Washington, Miami, Detroit. So that's the first half of January. It's a good mix of good teams and sort of teams that are worse than the Suns there. Like Sacramento's worse than the Suns. Memphis, Washington, and Miami all have worse records than the Suns. But you got some good teams in there too, right? OKC,
absolutely.
Houston, New York's the best team in the East. And then, Detroit is arguably the best team in the East too. I think
they're
New York's
the top
better.
two teams in the East.
I think New York's better so far, but they're both really good teams. So the Suns are going to have a schedule that's pretty balanced going forward. It's not a gauntlet like it was at the beginning of December, and it's not a little softer like it was at the end of December for the Suns. But they have some opportunities to hopefully get healthy. It sounds like Grayson Allen could be back as early as Sacramento, hopefully at least play against OKC. He would have really helped in that last OKC game, I thought. But yeah, hopefully we'll see Grayson Allen back soon, and then Jalen Green sometime by the middle of January. It seems like I don't know if we talked about it. The update we got on Jalen Green was 2 to 3 more weeks after that 6 weeks ended. And that was just the overall update of saying he'll be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks. I always thought the 6-week timeline was a little bit generous. I never expected him at least until January, so I think none of that was surprising. But, we're all kind of desperate to see this team healthy. I will say, too, they do have Miami, Detroit, New York, Philadelphia, Atlanta as a road trip. And that starts January 13th. That's going to be tough, man.
Those are most of the good teams in the East, except for you said New York twice. You meant the Nets.
Yeah, Brooklyn. Sorry.
I still have to decide, by the way, if I'm going to those games, because there's a Knicks and Nets game in the city back to back.
17th and 19th, Saturday.
Always
and Monday.
A road trip. Yep, Saturday and Monday, and the Monday is Martin Luther King Day. So I may make the trip, but I have to decide. Of course, those tickets, I've already looked at the Garden, are 5 times as expensive as the ones at Barclays.
This schedule I'm looking at, it says,
there you go. For
the Knicks game, tickets as low as $237. And then for the Nets game, it says tickets as low as $16.
I love Barclays Center, man. I think I say this once on the pod every year. I love Barclays Center. That's the best, as far as I'm concerned, it's the best arena on earth, because you go there, you dap up 15 other Suns fans, and you just own the building when you're in there. And no matter what fan base, it could be a Charlotte Hornets versus Nets game, and everyone's going to be decked out in their 90s Alonzo Mourning gear. Any fan base that goes in there is just gonna own it compared to the indigenous Nets fans, if you will. So yeah, love Barclays Center.
I've spent years chasing great coffee, and I finally found a roaster worth sharing, Alchemy Roast. Before I say anything else, you can get it shipped to you at alchemyroaster.com and use the promo code TIMELINE for 10% off today. Now let me tell you why it's worth it. Alchemy Roast is a small batch roastery in Metro Phoenix that treats coffee like a true craft. Ethically sourced beans, thoughtful roasting, and incredible flavor in every batch. I recently made espresso with their Colombian beans, and it was honestly the best cup of coffee I've made at home. What really sets them apart is their mission. They study every bean to highlight its best natural qualities and roast for cafes, offices, events, and everyday coffee lovers. Their philosophy, do good, get good in, give good out, shows up in everything they do. Fair trade sourcing, supporting small farms, organic practices, and eco-friendly compostable products. Full field to fork traceability. They're serious about quality and serious about leaving a good footprint. If you want to taste it for yourself, head to alchemyroaster.com and use the promo code TIMELINE today for 10% off your order. Support them, support us. alchemyroaster.com, promo code TIMELINE. You'll taste the difference. Let's talk about some stats. So as listeners of this podcast know, we do stat episodes every 10 or so games. We're over 30 games into the season now, so it's time for the two of us to come up with some stats to give some context to this season, to each other. We don't cover the stats with each other before these episodes start. We just find them on our own, and then we reveal them to each other on the podcast. And then after that, we're also going to do some resolutions at the end of this episode. And we kind of left that open-ended to decide how we wanted to treat our New Year resolutions, Suns related, of course, or at least NBA related. I'm not sure what yours are. Okay, stats. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll go macro to micro. Okay, so I'm going to start with the ones that are more about the entire team, and then maybe we'll get into some specific players later.
Cool.
You can do it however you want. That's just how I'm doing it.
Sounds good.
So number one, I think this flows from our previous conversation just about our expectations of what they were at the start of the season and how they're being covered versus what they are today on January 1st. I'd like to remind people that the average age of the Suns is 26.3 years old. Do you know where that puts them in the NBA?
I imagine pretty towards the youngest, right? I would imagine.
Not towards the youngest, but 15th, dead even.
Okay.
Does that surprise you that the Suns, just by age alone, are based on the way they're covered, based on the narratives, based on kind of all of this stuff, that they are dead even the average age team in the NBA, and yet they're the 7th seed right now?
Yeah. I mean,
and does it surprise you if I tell you that number, 26.3, and I will say, I'll throw up my hands and say, this is just the average age of the entire roster. If you weight it by minutes played,
yeah, that's what I was curious about. Yeah.
I'm sure it changes. Okay, I'm sure it goes down. I will be honest about that.
I mean, only because Royce O'Neal has played so much, right? I mean, Devin Booker, obviously, but like, how many of the other guys are older? Royce O'Neal,
and because like Nick Richards is playing over Malawach, or like other things like that, you know, drag the number up for the Suns a little bit. But just the average age of the roster, 26.3, is younger than the San Antonio Spurs. It's younger than the Houston Rockets. I mean, Kevin Durant's there, but like the entire rest of that roster is pretty young. It's
they also have Jeff Green, don't they? Those guys are really waiting at the opposite direction there.
It's younger than the Cleveland Cavaliers, who we just played.
Yeah, interesting. That is interesting.
They don't have a Wemby, right? And they don't have even I don't know if there's anyone comparable on the Rockets, like an Amen Thompson or someone who's like, you know,
playing the most minutes as a young player. Yeah,
playing the most minutes under the age of like still can't get a drink and just you know, or like under the age of 25 at the very least.
Yeah,
and is still being like just coronated as a future superstar or future star in the NBA. Obviously, the Suns are still trying to find that player, and so to an extent I understand where the narratives come from. I just found this a little bit surprising because the way this team is talked about sometimes is it's like they're totally defying the expectations with this band of veterans that wasn't expected to go anywhere, and yet you look at the guys who are actually playing. Colin Gillespie is still young, Jordan Goodwin's not that old, Oso and Ryan Dunn are sophomores, Mark Williams is still really young, Jalen Green hasn't been integrated yet and he's like 23. You know, there are a lot of there is a youth movement going on, even if Malawach and Fleming are staying mostly on the bench.
Yeah, it is true. In some ways, you know, you're talking about the Suns having a young guy who is sort of being coronated as the future. Like Colin, I mean, we're going to talk about Colin later. I have a stat for him, but Colin Gillespie kind of fills that role for the Suns, but he's just not young in the way that young players that are successful in the NBA are. He's young in the way that he has not played a ton of NBA minutes, but he's not 22. You know?
Yeah, he's 26.
He's 26, so like athletically, he's probably in his peak right now, and he's not going to get more athletic. Like some of these guys that are 22, 23, they might get a little bit more athletic, and that could help them in their careers. But whereas Colin is 26, but like in the way that, oh, this guy could be really good, that is happening with Colin. And you know, like we had a conversation about Colin Gillespie and what his overall ceiling is. And yeah, maybe we don't know what that is still. And, you know, we'll talk more about that later too. And I'm sure that'll be a conversation as we get towards the end of the year and we have to talk about trying to keep him. But yeah, that is the guy that's sort of come through and he's that young player that's actually better than anyone expected him to be and is really kind of keeping the Suns afloat in the minutes with Devin Booker.
It's funny because Gillespie is 26 and the type of season he's having right now if he continues to add to his point total and basically he finishes this season averaging 15, 5, and 5 or whatever, he's pretty close. That's the type of season that the most improved player award should be for. Like, we should start talking about that it should really be Colin Gillespie, just a guy who comes out of nowhere and becomes a critical piece. Instead, what they always do with most improved player is if Colin Gillespie was not 26, but he was 22 in his third season, then they would give him the award, right? They give the award to the Tyrese Maxey types who, have kind of always been in the limelight,
but now get more shots.
Now get more shots and maybe are expected to continue to get even better, as has literally happened with Tyrese Maxey.
It's been awesome. Yeah.
After they win the award. But yeah, that's
Tim Legler.
He should be on people's ballots there. Tim Legler, what about him?
Gave Colin Gillespie some credit towards that most improved player award. So there is some literally there. Tim Legler, by the way, literally pretty great when he appears on podcasts. Very thoughtful.
Tim Legler's an analytical guy. He's very thoughtful. He's very smart.
Yeah.
Was Tim Legler one of the ones calling him Connor Gillespie 2 months ago, though?
No, not Tim. Tim Legler actually coached Colin Gillespie in high school. So he has known Colin Gillespie since he was a kid. So actually, if you listen to...
I just think if you go from literally every broadcast botching your name to being a 15-point per game player on a playoff team in a single season, that they should write you in. That should lock you in for the most improved award.
Hey, we can... Look, I'm not going to say we have a dramatic effect on this, but we do have some effect on the narrative here, so we can try to push that.
In our own small little way.
We can get some of the national guys on our side here by rallying them around this. I'm trying to do it, by the way. In fact, we'll talk about him next. I'm trying to do it right now for Dillon Brooks.
That's fair. I mean, what's more meaningful in terms of most improved? Going from being the perceived 80th best player in the NBA to 40th, they give the awards to some of these guys sometimes, or in Gillespie's case, going from the perceived 300th best basketball player in the world, which he probably was 12 months ago, to now being a top 75 guy.
Right.
Which top 100 guy. I think you could certainly make the case that he is now. Yeah.
I think it's a more compelling story. The thing about him this season is the story is really good. We'll come back to him. Let's talk about Dillon Brooks real quick, since we're talking about building a narrative. I have started a narrative online, you've seen, that Dillon Brooks can fix the NBA All-Star game. Now, does Dillon Brooks have a case to be an All-Star? What do you think?
In a normal year, I think, and a normal year means where we're choosing the 24 best players in the NBA or whatever All-Star typically is.
Yeah.
12 in each conference. I would not have Dillon Brooks. Respectfully, I think he's made a big impact on this team. And I totally understand anyone who wants to put them in their ballots.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have Dillon Brooks doing what he's doing as an All-Star this year.
I think it's fair, but let's just go through what he's doing so far. 21.5 points per game, second highest scorer on the 7th best team in the toughest conference, one of the more tough divisions, even if you want to take it that far, in the NBA, and has played really well. Now, I think he has a case. Is it a great case? No. Does he have a case? Yeah. I mean, 21.5 points per game and being the best defender on a team, that's a pretty good case just by itself, in that, he is the second best offensive player and the best defensive player on a playoff team or a potential playoff team in the Western Conference. And, if the Suns are the 6th or somehow the 5th, but it's, in the West, by the time the All-Star game comes, then the case gets, of course, even stronger. The higher that they raise in those standings, his import to the team and the value that he brings when he's on the floor culturally too is sort of this weird ephemeral value that is hard to fully capture or measure. And, I'm not saying that you can add that to his case to being an all-star, but I do think it matters to what he is. The stat I have for him, though, is not related to all that. And then we'll talk about the reason I think he can fix the all-star game. I think it's pretty obvious. Post-ups. He posts up about twice a game. In the NBA, here are the players that he's more efficient at in post-ups so far this season. LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Jaren Jackson Jr., Julius Randle, Alperen Şengün, Joel Embiid, Pascal Siakam, Karl Anthony Towns, Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Davis, and Kevin Durant. He's currently 6th in the NBA.
Kevin Durant is hilarious.
I know. It's so good. He's currently 6th in the NBA in points per possession in post-ups. Here are the players that are better than him so far this season. Kristaps Porzingis, who's only played 14 games. I almost excluded him just from that perspective, but 14 games is a sample size.
Zubats?
DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Jokic,
Okay. Yep.
Zion Williamson, and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Wow, those are the only 5.
Those are the only 5 players that are more efficient in post-ups than Dillon Brooks so far this season. A Dillon Brooks post-up is one of the more valuable plays the Suns have in points per possession so far. And I find this to be interesting because it was good when we talked about it 10 games into the season, or maybe 20 or so. But teams have had enough time to scout it. Meaning there are counters being thrown at him now. And it remains efficient. It's not as good as it was. It was number 1 early in the season. Now it's, dropped to 6th. But 6th out of 400 players, of course, I limited it to at least 2 post-ups a game, which is how much he does. A little more than 2, I think he does, but I limited it to at least 2 or more. He is just insanely efficient on those post-ups so far this season. Now, we'll talk about that, but here's what I think. The All-Star game is boring. The All-Star game is bad. Now, I've made the case in the past that All-Star weekend is for 10-year-olds. It's not for people in their 30s who complain about how players don't try hard enough. Really, it's just marketing for kids. So I do kind of understand that. Sometimes when I hear people complaining about the All-Star game, it reminds me of people going, why isn't this Star Wars movie for me, a 45-year-old man? Sure. But if you want it to be good, you need someone like Dillon Brooks. Someone who is willing to get a technical called on him during an All-Star game. Someone who, if he sees someone not guarding, will do it himself. Someone who will muck it up. Someone who will annoy the All-Star players that are in there by being a little too aggressive on plays. It's really the only way to fix it. Now, we're talking about how boring it is and how frustrating it is. Why not reward players that do that then? Fill it with guys like Dillon Brooks. Just put them in the game. Now, this year, too, it is a world versus USA format. Dillon Brooks is from Canada. He fits very nicely into the world team. Unfortunately, the world at this point might have more talent than the United States overall, so it almost makes it harder for him to get into the All-Star team. But I just think from a perspective of making it watchable and putting a narrative, putting a story, putting a product on the court that is just kind of interesting, just inserting Dillon Brooks into the All-Star game, that's almost more exciting to me than any other possibility that could happen during All-Star weekend. Just to see, put him on the team against LeBron James. When LeBron James is on the court, an undeserving All-Star this year probably. When LeBron James is on the court, because he will be.
You think he's gonna make? You think he's gonna make it for sure?
I very much would doubt that he doesn't.
No, you're right. They did that with
Dirk.
They've done it with far worse players than LeBron, right? They did it with Dirk. They did it with Dwayne Wade.
Yeah. So LeBron James is on the court. You check Dillon Brooks in there to annoy the hell out of LeBron James in an All-Star game. Who doesn't want to see that? Everybody wants to see that. I'm sorry. It's a perfect thing to happen this year. And honestly, we're probably never going to have the opportunity to put Dillon Brooks in the All-Star game again. Yeah, we have our opportunity. Do it now.
It's a compelling case. I'll be honest with you. It's a good argument. It's good. It is also the kind of last step in the WWE-ification of the NBA, if you will.
It's the All-Star game.
I know. I just, the reason that Dillon Brooks gets post-ups still, teams would rather have Dillon Brooks score 30 than Devin Booker score 20. Is the way I would look at it, and the way that the Suns continue to be defended. So if Dillon Brooks is their second All-Star after Devin Booker, then sure. but he's still very much to me the secondary guy in terms of value and impact. And, you know, when I think about All-Star, obviously it's for kids. It is. It's for the entertainment of the weekend. But unfortunately, it's also a legacy thing, and it impacts like Hall of Fame chances and stuff like that, which is why, you know, I would plead Booker's case to get in there before Dillon Brooks, and I don't know if they're going to reward the Suns with 2 guys this year.
I don't think they will. And Devin Booker deserves it more than Dillon Brooks. I'm not trying to say over Devin Booker for anyone who's going, well, what about Booker? And everyone saying that, you're right, for the record. I think about just the overall entertainment of the weekend, and I think I'd rather see Dillon Brooks.
It would absolutely make the weekend itself more entertaining. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Just him being there and being interviewed, you know, like all of it would get more fun. And there's like a narrative shift on Dillon Brooks now. Other people appreciate him too, not just Suns fans, because he's playing so well.
I think it's like the Chris Paul thing, ironically, when Chris came to the Suns, of like, once you're at team number 3 in a row where you just go there and tangibly everything flips overnight, people have no choice but to respect what you're bringing to that culture, right? And in Dillon's case, what you're bringing not just to the culture, but like on the basketball court, he's been very good. So, yeah, I think everyone recognizes that he's annoying as hell, but you have to respect his talent at a certain point. So you made a good case.
Mark Williams, Colin Gillespie, Ryan Dunn, and Jordan Goodwin are on the Old Man in the 3. Yesterday,
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
I haven't either. I just started it, so I've watched like the first 20 minutes or so. But one of the first
You're watching it right now?
Yeah, I was watching it
live on the pod?
Yeah.
When I start talking, actually, you have headphones in.
I pause it while I'm talking, and then I play it while you're talking.
Yeah, perfect.
They said that the first scrimmage they played as a team, they had NBA refs there, and Dillon Brooks got 2 technicals.
That's funny.
Just like... That's what the All-Star game needs. How funny would it be if he got ejected from an All-Star game? I mean, it would just be so fun. Anyway, Dillon Brooks, very good this season. Has a case. I think he at least deserves to be on the snubbed list. And so, like, this is the kind of narrative that I'm building to at least give him that credit. And look, if injuries come and guys are sitting out the All-Star game, put him in there. He should be the first on the list to be put in there if they're injury replacements for the world team, I should say.
All right, let's keep it rolling with the personal the individual allocates, okay? Because we've talked about Dillon Brooks making All-Star. I think it's time we have a Coach of the Year discussion.
Very good.
Real quick for my next stat. I just want to place the historical context around it. Currently, their record was a little better 2 days ago, but now, after that Cleveland game, the Suns have a winning percentage of 57%, being 19-14. I don't know exactly what that is in terms of pace. I think it's like a 48-win pace or something.
Yeah, I can figure that out.
But 57 is the number right now. And coincidentally, I would make the case that for Coach of the Year, which is, again, very much a narrative award, it's very much how well did you perform relative to your expectations. We all know that's what Coach of the Year is. 57% in recent history in the NBA is sort of the magic winning percentage, as in that's the floor.
Yeah.
Right? There have been a couple of cases before this in NBA history, but I'm really going to take into account the modern era, the last 25 years. Since the year 2000, there have been 3 cases in the NBA where a winning percentage of 57% was enough to win Coach of the Year. Okay? Mike Brown, a couple years ago with the Sacramento Kings, light the beam season.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Thibodeau in 2021, the the COVID shortened season, with the Knicks, where they went like 41-31. And Sam Mitchell in 2007 with the Toronto Raptors, where honestly, I don't even know what the narrative there was. I don't remember. They made the playoffs. The Raptors did. They like won 48 games. I think that was Andrea Bargnani's rookie season, but it was also like Chris Bosh was in his prime at that point, but he had been already putting up numbers for a couple of years, and then suddenly they went from like a 25-win team to a 45-win team, so Sam Mitchell got it for the Raptors. Those are the 3 times in the last 25 years. The vast majority of the time, this award goes to basically who is the coach on a team that won 55 to 60 games that we were not expecting them to win 55 or 60 games, right? That's the standard for this award. But there are a few exceptions, and I just wanted to note them in history because Jordan Ott is at that threshold. If the Suns stay on a 47-48 win pace, I think that's the minimum. There are other candidates, and we can discuss them, but that's the minimum that he needs to be at to get real consideration for this award this year.
I don't like this award. I've talked about this before, trying to stay consistent in how I feel about it, because it's so dependent on expectations, right?
So vibes.
Like, yeah,
it's a lot of vibes.
So like it's up to the media to vote, and the media goes, I think this team will be bad. And then they're good, and you go, well, I thought they were going to be bad, so I wasn't wrong. They just actually outplayed expectations. Therefore, the coach was good. So, in some ways, I think it's like this version of like protecting your own opinions in the way that they vote for it. But, it is what it is. That's just how it works. It's just how the award has always worked. It's difficult to make a case against him. Like, who are the other coaches? I don't know if you mentioned that there, but who are the other coaches you think would be eligible for that award? I think probably Detroit would be a team that would be
absolutely
up there. Toronto?
It's going to be... no, I think Toronto's fallen too far.
They have about the same win percentage as the Suns.
Yeah, Toronto's fourth now, though. I think it's going to be J.B. Bickerstaff for Detroit. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Joe Mazzulla for Boston, if we're talking about expectations.
Yeah, that's
right?
fair. That's fair. I think.
They're third in the East, and they have the narrative.
Yeah,
they've been good, and they have the narrative of Tatum missing the whole season if he does.
And they don't have a center that's like viable, and they've still found a way to cobble together minutes.
Yep.
Spurs maybe Mitch.
Gonna say Mitch Johnson. Mitch Johnson for the Spurs is another one. If they win 55 games, then Mitch Johnson is going to be in that conversation.
Do you think they'd give it to Dagnall?
I don't think they should.
I don't think they should either. But we're all coming off of the Spurs beating them 3 times in like a 2-week period. So I don't know. Their season is unbelievable.
Like you said, it's a dumb award because maybe they should just give this to Eric Spoelstra every year. But, it's like, I think we can at least talk about what Jordan Ott has done that's impressed us the most for him to even be in the inner or outer ring of contenders. So what has impressed you the most about Jordan Ott through 30 games?
I think the thing that has impressed me the most personally is their ability to play as well as they have with the injuries that they've had. Because, like... I'll say it because I think I'm gonna burn this one. I'm not. This was a stat that I had that I wasn't necessarily gonna bring up unless we needed to, and this was just lineups. Like, okay, the number one lineup, 5-man lineup in the NBA, the lineup that's played the most minutes, I should say, not number one in net rating, but the lineup that's played the most minutes in the NBA is Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert. That lineup has played 321 minutes. So far this season. Number 2, it goes to Brooklyn, which is their starting lineup. Number 3, Detroit's starting lineup. Number 4, Houston's starting lineup. Number 5, this is the Atlanta starting lineup without Trey. Number 6 is the Clippers. Number 7 is Boston. And number 8 is Denver. Now, these lineups, but particularly at the top, like it's 321 minutes, 282 minutes, 230 minutes, 224 minutes, 214 minutes. Those are the top 5 lineups in minutes played in the NBA. You got to scroll all the way down to close to the bottom of the starting lineups in the NBA to find where the Suns are in their most minutes played lineup, and it's 112. It's 112 minutes.
A third.
So a third of the top lineup, which is Minnesota Timberwolves. And that lineup is Colin Gillespie, Royce O'Neal, Devin Booker, Dillon Brooks, and Mark Williams. It's not even, and of course it's not the Suns starting lineup because we know Jalen Green hasn't played, but it's not even the starting lineup without Jalen Green. It's like, it's got at least 2 bench players in it, in Royce O'Neal and Colin Gillespie. 2 guys who probably will come off the bench when the Suns are healthy this season. So like, it's really impressive, I think, that the Suns have played so well this season. And a lot of credit goes to the players, of course. Like I do feel like sometimes when you talk about the coach and how good the coach is, you're taking away credit from the players. Not you, but just in general, the way the conversation goes. So a lot of credit goes to the players, of course, and their ability to play. But to find a way to the wins that they've gotten to, plus the injuries, I think is really impressive. And I do also think that when people talk about the Suns' success so far this season, they leave the injuries out of that conversation. They don't talk about that. And or they make some sort of sarcastic comment about how they're going to get worse when Jalen Green plays, which I've heard on The Ringer. And maybe they will, but I don't think so. I think the Suns need a player like that kind of desperately, and it's pretty obvious when you watch them play. But yeah, so to me, the ability to do this well through adversity is what's impressed me with Jordan Ott so far.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I would definitely agree with that. For me, I mean, it's a couple of things. One, when you just watch Jordan Ott's demeanor, I think not everyone is built out to be an NBA coach because it's a very demanding, very taxing job. But you need to have a very specific type of demeanor to survive in the NBA these days. And Jordan Ott kind of checks all the boxes in that he has that quiet intensity that I think a lot of people don't have. Either they're like visibly too lax or they're too domineering. And he's kind of neither, right? It's his first season. And so, we're making some like kind of snap judgments from him, although we have watched him on the sideline for 30 games now. Like, he feels like both a player's coach and a no-nonsense guy at the same time, which I think is really, really difficult to balance. And it's absolutely captured the respect of the players. But the other thing that I asked for at the beginning of the season that I've been most impressed with is just we were desperate for the Suns to have an identity. And not only has he given them an identity, but they've sustained that identity for close to half the season now. It wasn't like last year where Budenholzer comes in and says, okay, we're going to shoot more threes, we're going to play faster, and they did it for 6 games, and then we never saw it again. With Jordan Ott, they have sustained an identity of winning possession battles, crashing the offensive glass as hard as possible, picking up higher on defensive assignments, and of course, all the credit goes to players too to actually like implement that system. But Ott came in, he said, here's the system, and he's held the guys to it no matter who is playing through 30 games. They have not wavered away from that system, and that's just really impressive if you can actually stick to your guns like that.
They're expected to play hard, and if they don't play. And I think that's the real difference between Budenholzer and, what we're seeing now. All right. Let's talk about Jamaree Bouyea. It's a real quick one for Jamaree Bouyea, but one that I wanted to cover so far this season. First of all, just some credit to Jamaree Bouyea. Not on a roster to start the season. And, signed because of injuries. Jalen Green missed time and then Grayson Allen missed time. Once both of those guys were out, the Suns were like, man, we need someone who can dribble, at least a little bit. And, they got some of that from Jordan Goodwin, and then they got a little bit of that from Jamaree Bouyea. Now, we were planning on doing this episode before the Cleveland game. So I pulled a stat before the Cleveland game, and I'll cover it there, and then I'll give you an update on that stat. Before the Cleveland game, Jamaree Bouyea was shooting 94.7% in the restricted area. 18 for 19 in the restricted area before the Cleveland game, is now 22 for 25, which is still 88% in the restricted area so far this season. Now, I give a lot of credit to Jamaree Bouyea and just his ability to come in and just do a little bit when the Suns need a little bit. And I just have been really impressed with his efficiency overall because he doesn't get to touch the ball a lot. And when he does, he mostly does a really good job with it. And it's not in like this sort of timid way where he's just catching and shooting threes or whatever, like, Isaiah Livers or somebody else who, Livers has been good too, don't get me wrong. But it's a different role. Bouyea has to attack sometimes and has done a good job when he's doing that. And I think so much of his efficiency at the rim is that he sometimes gets it on fast breaks, but also like I think guys are often surprised by his athleticism when he gets to the rim in that they're dunks. They're not just like short layups. He's just getting up above the rim and throwing it down. He's got insanely long arms and he's got bounce. So just give him overall credit so far this season. But that efficiency, what he's done in the restricted area at the rim, really impressive. Really impressive.
Yeah. He keeps the ball on a string. He hasn't really been turning it over at all, which is rare for a guy, with his lack of NBA experience to just come in at the point guard position and play with that level of poise. and then he kind of just levitates. Like Jamari Bouye has hops.
Yeah.
When he goes up, not in the who just had that poster dunk yesterday? Was it Walter Clayton or someone really unexpected?
I didn't see that one.
Who had a crazy poster dunk or something, but not in the way that he's just gonna like finish over the top of you, but finish side to side, and jump a long distance.
He does. Yeah, he'll jump outside of the restricted area to get it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he does. Here's a question for you. Jamari Bouye is on a 2-way contract. The Suns hopefully are going to get this guard depth back with Jalen Green and Grayson Allen, obviously, and then Colin Gillespie still needs to play minutes. There are a lot of pots that need to be watered if they're fully healthy before Jamari Bouye could even potentially play minutes. Would you, knowing that, cut Nigel Hayes, not to, target a guy, but like, let's be honest. Would you cut Nigel Hayes Davis and give Jamari Bouye that roster spot instead?
I just don't think you have to. I just don't think you have to.
So you wouldn't take Jamari Bouye into the playoffs?
I think that you would take it all the way
if they're fully healthy.
I think you take it all the way to the last second. If they're fully healthy, you probably don't need to. And if they're not fully healthy, then yeah, you can do it. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. They've played a lot of guys this season, obviously. Just a lot of guys have played minutes, and a lot of guys are playing minutes even in any individual game. They might play 10 or 11 guys in an individual game. So I don't know what the rotation is going to look like when they're fully healthy and they start to shorten it in the games that matter. But I have a feeling Jamari Bouye is not going to play.
Well, yeah, it's a shame in the sense that I certainly hope he finds a permanent home in the NBA somewhere. I think there's still a possibility that home is with Phoenix.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I think that's definitely possible.
There's a case to be made that something the team explores doing this summer is, tries as hard as possible to re-sign Colin Gillespie, re-signs Jamari Bouye, and then done. Again, I'm sorry to single people out, but when we have money discussions, it's like there's no other way to do it. Dumps Jalen Green's $30 million salary on any forward that they can get instead as a way of kind of opening up minutes for all of these guards that they suddenly have who are good. Of course, we'll see how Jalen Green returns and how he plays off Booker. And
you just think when Jalen Green's healthy and Grayson Allen's healthy, they're both healthy. Jalen Green's going to get 35 minutes and Grayson's going to get 27. And they're going to have to find a way to do that, meaning Grayson's going to play at the 3.
And that leaves 15 for Colin.
Yeah, Colin. And so those guys are going to have to play up a position at times too, because they just have more depth at the guard position. And like the real threat to Jalen Green is not Bouye, right? It's Colin and what he's going to do. But yeah, what do you got? What's next?
Well, let's talk about another guard who we didn't even mention there. Let's talk about Jordan Goodwin, who, by the way, is also a free agent at the end of this year, right? Like, this is one of the things about the Suns' New Year's resolutions is they got to keep their talent, and it just so happens that a lot of their talent is coming from unexpected sources, Jordan Goodwin being a perfect example of that. So Jordan Goodwin this year, here's the stat, had 8, this is not the stat, he had 8 offensive rebounds against Cleveland yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right about that? 8,
so.
15 total?
Yeah.
So that brought his offensive rebound percentage on the season up to 10.6%.
Wow.
That's the percentage of available offensive rebounds a player grabs while they're on the floor.
That's crazy.
Where do you think that ranks in the NBA?
I mean, I'm guessing
among all players, not point guards.
I'm guessing really high, and if it was for guards, it might be the top. I'm guessing
it's
maybe like the top 15.
Guards. Wow, good. He is 16th in the NBA in offensive rebound percentage.
It's crazy.
Now, to some people listening at home, that might not sound like anything. So let me contextualize it a little bit better. Forget the top 10 for a second. Like the top 10, you can just believe are all 7-foot centers.
Yeah, right.
But even after that, here are the guys in the vicinity of Jordan Goodwin in offensive rebound percentage this season, right? Here are the top 5 guys above him, 5 guys below him. This is the company that Jordan Goodwin is in, okay? Starting at number 11 in the NBA, Ivica Zubac. From there, we go Jock Landale, Ryan Kalkbrenner, DeAndre Ayton, Yusuf Nurkic, Jordan Goodwin, 16. After Jordan Goodwin, Nikola Jokic, Keldon Johnson, that's your first non-center in this list. Keldon Johnson at number 18.
Yeah.
He has been good. After Keldon Johnson, Alperen Şengün, Nick Claxton, Karl Anthony Towns, Isaiah Stewart, Asar Thompson, another non-center, Wendell Carter Jr., Alex Sarr, and Amen Thompson.
Crazy.
Your first quote-unquote point guard, even though Amen Thompson is 6'9".
Yeah.
That's like the top 30 in the NBA. So in the top 30 in this stat, offensive rebound percentage in the NBA, you've got 26 centers, a couple of small forwards in the Thompson twins and Keldon Johnson, and then Jordan Goodwin is the only guy there who's under 6'6".
And he's a guard, but he plays like small forward on the Suns, basically. And yeah, really impressive.
What he's doing is nuts, dude. I just hope the 3-point shooting comes back because he's had some really unfortunate shooting stat lines.
It's the mask,
lately.
though, right? Because it started when he started wearing the mask. So
probably,
I hope it is. That's might be me coping a little there. But Amanda asked him what it takes or how he gets all these offensive rebounds, and his response was funny. He's just like, I just go crash every time.
Yeah,
I just go.
And that's why
I just go try to get them, and then I do. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. Most guys can't do that, Jordan Goodwin. Like, you're just kind of a miracle in that stat. And like Okogie was one of those guys too. And yeah, he's just really, really good at it. Really kind of sneaky in the way that he kind of finds a way around the bigs, and if they're not paying attention, he'll just go up there and get it before they can get it. And yeah, he's had some really good games in a row that probably boosted those stats for him too.
Just in the past week, 5 offensive rebounds against New Orleans in 23 minutes, 4 offensive rebounds in 28 minutes against Washington, and then 8 against Cleveland in 22 minutes. He's easily, we haven't gotten there yet because I think we're not going to record for Hustle Player of the Week until after the Kings game tomorrow. But unless something crazy happens in that Kings game tomorrow, I'm telling you right now, Jordan Goodwin's number 1 this week, right? He has to be.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've already thought about that during the Cavs game. I'm like, this he's gunning for it. He knows what he's doing. He must be a Patreon subscriber.
He knows he's got to close ground against Colin Gillespie somehow. It's Gillespie number 1, Jordan Goodwin number 2.
Okay.
And Mark Williams number 3 right now.
So far on the season, yeah. Patreon subscribers, no. Let's go a little quicker on these. I have 2 more. How many more do you have?
1 more.
1 more. Okay, perfect. Quick one. Colin Gillespie's shooting 62% on corner threes. 62% on corner threes. 23 for 37 on the season. It was even higher before the Cavs game. He was like 1 for 3 in the Cavs game. 63% on the season before that. 10 for 12 from the right corner.
Nice.
He's 10 for 12 from the right corner.
Okay, so 62% on a 3 is 1.86 points per possession, right? Basically, that's the equivalent of 93% on a layup or dunk. Is like the mathematical equivalent.
Yeah, it's better than Jamari Bouye at the rim.
Yeah,
which we just talked about.
That's insane. He's really good. My stat. Do you have anything else there?
Well, just to say, the other thing about his corner threes is that he's not usually just standing there. They're often him sprinting to the corner and shooting like a fadeaway.
That's true.
Like, they're not just normal corner threes. He's shooting difficult ones. They run plays, out of bounds plays in particular, where he's running off screens to the corner to catch and shoot from the corner. And those are difficult threes to make. And he's just insanely efficient in his shooting so far this season.
Building off that, I'm wasting a stat that I posted a couple days ago on Twitter for everyone to see. But I wanted to call attention to it again here. The fact that Colin and Oso together have a plus 12 net rating, I think is something worthy of quick discussion. You're a big Oso defender, even more than me.
It's my last stat was Oso related, yeah.
There we go. See, how do we do it?
Yep.
How do we do it every week or every 2 weeks that we do this, whenever it is? Colin and Oso just play really well together because they have such a strong compound understanding of spacing on a basketball court. Mm-hmm. Specifically when, you've talked about like some of the stuff that Oso is doing on screening and handoffs to Colin. It's basically homeless man Steph and Draymond.
Yes, exactly. The Suns have one movement shooter.
The two of them play together.
They have one movement shooter, basically.
Yeah.
Because it's not how Colin. Devin Booker plays. It's just Colin. And if they added another, that would be really helpful. Maybe Jalen Green could be that. Who knows? But the way that Oso and Colin work on those movement threes with Oso's ability to pass. He had a really cool one in the Cleveland game, by the way, like a behind the back pass to Colin on the run on a screen, a handoff. Or, and then Colin Gillespie running around this, but Oso's screening and passing, those are his two best skills for a big, like as far as like outsized compared to his position. Mm-hmm. Combined with Colin Gillespie's movement shooting, they've just been really impressive so far this season.
When Mark Williams is on the floor with Colin, I don't have the net rating here. I think maybe it's like neutral, if my memory serves. But it's just like, it's going to be a lot of high screen pick and roll, kind of like more standard stuff with him at the top of the key. What I love about the Oso pairing, and Oso does a lot of playing in the middle of the floor too, right? Because that's the whole thing of what he does with moving the ball side to side. Mm-hmm. But also when he plays with Colin, they work really, really well together on the wing, on the weak side. If you empty the corner and you've got, say, Devin Booker or like a really strong offensive option on the strong side, you empty the corner, and now Colin and Oso can play out of their own 2-on-2 action on the weak side. And the pocket pass to Oso is there. He can either collapse the defense or spray it out to shooters. Just like they work so well together. Oso, of course, you still wish he was better at actually attacking off of those actions and finishing at the rim, free throws, all of that stuff.
Yeah, he can't score.
But the movement looks really good. I've noticed actually about Oso, like recently when he gets that pass in the short roll, what defenses like opposing big men have started doing, and they would never do this against like a guard, because they've started just like smacking down towards his hands because they're expecting the shot to come up from his chest, and they can just, if he goes for the floater, that is, and they can just strip him. If they do that against a guard, the guard's going to catch them on the uptake and like grift for a foul. Mm-hmm. But Oso doesn't do that. He's not
desperate to
for
not
contact.
shoot free throws. Yeah.
He's exactly. He's just going for the floater. Yeah. So if he gets the ball in that area and you can just smack down on him, you can take away his space. So he really needs to develop something to counteract that.
Here's my Oso stat just to add to this conversation here. First 10 games of the season, we do these approximately every 10 games whenever our podcast lines up post that. Oso was basically the Suns were at their worst with Oso on the floor. 20 or so games into the season, Oso Ighodaro, when the Suns had Oso Ighodaro on the floor, had passed Mark Williams. The Suns were actually better with Oso Ighodaro on the floor than with Mark Williams. Now, when Oso Ighodaro is on the floor, the Suns have the highest net rating of any rotation player that plays for the Suns. He's the best. The Suns are at their best with Oso Ighodaro on the floor now. Now, net rating in particular with centers is like one or the other plays. So you kind of have this sort of easy comparison between the two. So often the best net rating is a center for a team because like one plays or the other plays, and one of them will probably have better minutes than the other. So, the context of that matters, but the Suns are good with Oso Ighodaro on the floor. You and I were sort of messaging about Oso Ighodaro earlier this week, and I did mention that in some ways there's like your ability to talk about Oso Ighodaro as a player is like a little secret basketball IQ test. Can you tell what Oso brings to the floor, or are you just watching his inability to score? And like, I understand if you're watching the games kind of casually, Oso's not going to stand out in any positive way, because his mistakes are so embarrassing, like a floater that barely hits the rim, or, missing 2 free throws after getting
40% on free throws. Yeah. It is embarrassing. Embarrassing is a good word for it.
See, it's like it's difficult to watch. But all the other stuff that he does, all the little things that he does consistently, his ability to dribble the ball down the floor and take the ball out of Devin Booker's hands. Now, every team is pressing. But one thing a team never does is bring their center to press. They're never going to take a guy out of the paint that needs to be at the paint. So the fact that they can just give it to Oso Ighodaro and he can initiate the offense, and the Suns face no pressure, so they're starting their offense with an extra 3 or 4 seconds on the shot clock because it's Oso Ighodaro than someone else, that adds up. Over the course of a game, that adds up. The fact that he consistently screens better than anyone else on the team, that adds up too. Like, this offense is better when he's on the floor, even though he can't score. It's really... What's frustrating about him, because I'm not going to, I am an Oso Ighodaro defender, and I do think those first 10 games of the season, I was desperately trying to hold on to hope. So I'm grateful I held on to a little bit of it. But what is frustrating about him is that he can't score. Because how much better would he be if he could do anything scoring wise? If he had a mid-range shot, if he had free throws, if he could just make his free throws consistently. But the fact he's currently shooting 79-ish% in the restricted area. So like he does finish at the rim pretty well. And like that's gone up so far this season. Like he's gotten a little better in that stat. And then about 42% in the paint outside of the restricted area. That needs to get higher if we want to see him shoot more floaters, because those are entirely floaters, right? We know exactly what that shot is. It's never a jump shot. It's never anything but a floater. So like if that went up to 50-ish%, like, you know, DeAndre Ayton percentage wise, that would be really helpful. But he can't do any of those things. So he's still a frustrating player in that the ceiling is so high for all the little stuff he's good at. If he could just be better at the big thing, he would actually be a really great player. But he can't. Beyond that, I mean, he just can't. Like, I don't know if it'll ever get better. He'll have to rebuild his shot entirely. You know, like shooting threes would be helpful.
It's going to take time.
But like even outside of that, he's still a good player for the Suns so far this season, and I appreciate that he's become that.
I was actually just looking at Oso's contract. I'm not sure I realized as a second-round pick last year that the Suns... Did you remember this? The Suns did not sign him to the standard like 2-2 type contracts, or like often. Well, they do. No, they do. So next year is non-guaranteed, but it's not like a club option or anything that they had to exercise. It's just a third year, and then the fourth year is a club option, and that's an interesting way to handle a second-round pick. So they could cut their losses at any time last year. I think it says here on Spotrac. I use Spotrac for these because I usually trust them the most.
Yeah.
I'm not always 100% sure that all the contract info is correct.
Usually they are, yeah. Keith Smith does that site. So
$500,000 here is guaranteed for Oso next year. You know, they could cut him at any time next year, but like I think also there's a decent amount of faith shown there that this is a guy whose future they'd like to invest in more than your typical second-round pick. And I do think, you know, it's interesting that they didn't even have a club option built into next year. But based on how good these numbers are, I would anticipate that he's going to be back with them and continue to be a part of the team in some sense anyway. So he's got more time to develop. He's, at the very least, come a long way from the conversations we were having a month ago, where I think, honestly, at some point I was like, this guy's maybe just not an NBA player. And now he's bought himself a lot more time to try and develop those ancillary skills.
I guarantee he'll be back. And I also think, unless they trade him, like he could be an addition to a trade, you know, that they make or something. But what I'll say about him is the coaching staff very clearly loves him. Just very clearly loves him.
Yeah,
because
no doubt.
you just listen to the way Jordan Ott talks about him, he loves him. But Rex Chapman, who's been a part of the broadcast for this last road trip, is around the coaching staff and is around the front office. Rex Chapman loves him some Oso Ighodaro. Clearly loves Oso. And by the way, Oso, you know, they talked about it in the broadcast, has made a real improvement when it comes to offensive rebounds as well. And that has helped him stay on the floor a little bit longer. You know, just those things that create extra possessions are what the Suns need. And Oso's been good at that. But they clearly love him and they believe there's something there more than what they're getting out of him. I don't know what that takes though, like offensively, because like that's where he has to grow. He's already pretty good at defense. His rebounding has gotten a little bit better. He brings something offensively, Draymond style, without the shot. But like, if you believe there's growth there, it has to come in his scoring. So I'm curious what they're going to do for that. It might be a long-term project for him, rebuilding his jump shot, fixing his free throws. If he fixes his free throws, he could be more aggressive at the rim. I think he has that, like an ability to be a little bit more aggressive at the rim. But I've
hypothesized for the past year that part of the reason why Oso is terrified to attack the rim, or at least looks that way at times,
it has to be,
it's not the contact, it's what comes after the contact. Literally the mental embarrassment of missing those free throws.
It has to be. Yeah, I agree.
We need a sports psychologist.
Yeah, exactly.
To come on the pod and talk to us about how to handle a player who shoots 40% for the free throw line.
Before we go, it's New Year's Day. I told you that we should come up with a resolution or two here. I did it for myself. Now these are me
as a podcaster, or as related, a man,
as a podcaster,
because you as a man are perfect.
Yeah, I have nothing to improve on. Yeah.
Okay. we'll let that. Do
you want me to go first?
Sure.
I resolve to not get tricked by all offense small players as stars unless they show real hustle. And what I mean by that
Who are you talking about?
is that I am out on Trae Young.
Oh, okay.
I'm out on Trae
I'm
Young, and I'm out on Trae Young
I'm out on
style
Trae Young
players.
too. Yeah.
I was in
Yeah.
on Trae Young before the season. The season started. I saw how the Suns played. I saw how Colin Gillespie played. I saw how the Hawks played. And I saw how the Hawks played when Trae Young played. I'm out. I'm out, and I'm not just out on Trae Young. I'm out on John Morant. I'm out on any other small guard
I'm out on John
that
too.
doesn't play
Well,
defense.
You talking about, play defense or try on defense, because those
Try.
are two different things.
Like-
what
like-
about
like-
Jalen Brunson?
Okay, yeah, Jalen Brunson is different, I think. Jalen Brunson's, first of all, just better offensively than those guys, too. But I do think he shows effort defensively in a way that Trae Young doesn't and John Morant doesn't. Colin Gillespie is an example of that. Like, as like a non-star player, he's small, he's mostly all offense, but like you can't just pick on him defensively over and over and over
No.
again as a strategy. Maybe a really great team can, right? But most teams can't do it on a night-to-night basis. And I don't think you could put $40 to $50 million of your cap towards a player like that. Maybe $20 million, but I don't think you could put $40 to $50 million of your cap
How
towards a
about
player
this
like
one?
that.
Because so far we're talking about small guards who are 6'3". What if they're 6'7" point forwards like Luka Doncic?
I mean, Luka, size matters.
There
In this
are
case,
it does.
right? It does.
There are some clips circulating
He's pretty
the
bad,
past
man.
few weeks
He's pretty bad.
of Luka's inactivity on defense. But I do agree with you. Size does matter. It's just different when you're 6'2" like Trae is, and Luka's gonna be able to get away with more, whether he should or not. Yeah. I mean, look, if Trae Young was like a $30 million player,
Exactly.
this would be a different conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
But the fact of the matter is he wants to be a $50-60 million a year player to average 19 points on bad shooting and play no defense. Like, it's
tough, man.
not really a question anymore.
Yeah, and the
That's
shooting's not even there
that's
like it was.
really bad.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Colin Gillespie on 4 years, 60.
Yeah. So that's my first resolution. I have one more. What do you got?
I would like to argue more on Twitter. Start more beef this year. No, I'm kidding. I really feel like I haven't started enough beef online this year, and I would like to do that more. No, you were you going to say something there?
I literally thought about saying the opposite of that.
I
don't even argue much. I used to argue a lot
Okay.
on Twitter. I don't do much at all anymore.
I really feel like I've cut back a lot too, and I know we're going to say that that's not true.
No,
but
I think it is true. I think both of
Okay.
us have done it less. Twitter is a
Well,
worse place
yeah.
than it used to be. So like,
Yeah,
it's,
but I do it sometimes because sometimes it's too tempting. What can I say?
No,
I'm not gonna. This is not gonna be the year
look, if
that
someone
I become
throws
like,
you a lob, sometimes you have to finish the jam. That's just
Yeah,
how it
that's
works.
That's true. Let's see. Okay, I didn't come up with a resolution for myself as much as these were resolutions for the Suns. Is that okay? I will think of a resolution for myself while you talk about your next resolution.
Okay.
My
Well, no,
resolution
your
for the
resolutions
Suns,
for the Suns is fine too. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then, okay. My
we
resolution
left
for
it
the
open,
Suns,
open-ended.
my resolution for the Suns is to reintegrate Jalen Green.
Yes.
And to literally do anything possible. I don't care about the luxury tax. I don't care about maybe I don't care about the first apron, but you got to keep Colin Gillespie, Mark Williams, Jordan Goodwin next year, because that's all coming in 2026. I know it's not coming for like 5 months,
Yeah.
but these are 3 of your 5 most important players right now. Honestly, maybe 3 of your 7 most important players if you want to put Jordan Goodwin like 7th or something, 8th. You got to keep those guys by any means necessary.
Those are the culture, man. Those are the culture guys. I agree. It's like obviously they're going to play a lot too, but they set the tone. Dylan Brooks too. I don't want to trade Dylan Brooks. I want to keep him.
My personal resolution is I would like to come to Phoenix again. I think at one point I said, that's an easy one, but at one point I said I would do once a year, and I have not been holding myself to that.
Yeah. Well, you always got a place to stay. Last one for me. I resolved to give the old man, I can call him the old man, Brian Gregory, leeway on the moves he makes. Give him time
He's earned
before
that.
I judge
Yeah.
them. Because the Bouye move is just crazy, man. I mean, what a victory. And like a lot of the stuff he's done has been good. But I do think in some ways, like giving a guy a team and saying everything is up for grabs to try to make this team as good as possible this year meaning you could trade whatever you want. You can trade 2 picks for Mark Williams just for this year. Like, I do think that, like, that's not hard. What's hard is the next step after that. I mean, it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. It is hard. But, like, making the team get even better is where it becomes really difficult. Trying to create a team that's actually competing at the highest level. You know, saying get to the middle and you can trade anything you want. You know, that is something that teams can do. But he's hit on so many things as a general manager. The guy clearly knows basketball. He's also very charming when he speaks. I just enjoy him. But I tend to, I tend to jump on guys if I think the move is wrong. And I'm gonna give them some leeway on that. You know, I think they even deserve a chance to show what they really see in Jalen Green. If it is true that they really believed in Jalen Green, I still think there's a chance they see him as a trade asset more than anything else.
We'll see.
But I will say, short leash on that, because like the truth is, the version of watching sports of what have you done for me lately. This is the most valid way to treat people in sports. Like, it's not, unless you win a championship, like, it is what have you done for me lately, and it will continue to be that. But I'll try to give him a little bit of leeway when we're talking about him on the podcast.
You're talking about Jalen or Brian Gregory?
Brian Gregory.
Okay.
I mean, Jalen too. I mean, Jalen deserves some
for
time.
The players,
but I do that with players anyway already.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, that we're going to keep talking about. It's so interesting how, kind of objectively speaking, the return from the KD trade has not really worked out so far, only in the sense that only Dillon Brooks is out there playing.
Yeah.
And Malawach and Rasheer aren't playing much, and Jalen Green hasn't played much. That doesn't mean that those guys can't all be great and, like, you know, absolutely blow that package out of the water or whatever in terms of expected production. But so far, it's just a really interesting outcome that only Dillon Brooks is playing out of that trade, and yet the Suns are still better than they were last year. It's bizarre.
Yeah. And he's been awesome. So yeah. So shout out shout out to the old man. I resolve to defend the middle-aged man, and that man being Matt Ishbia, from Bill Simmons. All right. We've taken clear sides of that one. So yeah, that's good stuff. All right. Anything else before we go? We do a long one today.
I don't
by
think
accident.
so. Yeah, game against the Kings tomorrow. Yeah. We'll try and do Patreon after that, and then really hard back-to-back against OKC and Houston. I'm not expecting much from that one. Man, it would be really great to get just one win against Houston this season.
Honestly, either of those as a victory would be very exciting. And they are back-to-back. Yeah. Another game against Houston on the second night of a back-to-back at Houston, by the way. So not setting us up for a lot of good stuff on that one. But yeah, Happy New Year to everyone listening. I hope you have a great year and a safe year. And go to some Suns games. Have a good time watching the team this year. Hopefully they're healthy pretty soon. Anything else before we go?
And that's it.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. If you'd like to join our Patreon, we'll probably have one coming up in the next few days as long as Sam stays healthy. Patreon.com/thetimeline. Extra episodes every week. Here, our Hustle Player of the Week conversation. I really enjoy those, to have those every week. And then join our Discord if you'd like to by joining our Patreon. Only $6 a month for extra episodes every week. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Happy New Year.